use for spreadsheets for Excel.
So Shiloh, what's your research question?
It's
your data.
Cool. All right. So out of that hypothesis, which things do you think you would use on Excel? I'll give you multiple choice. Average, right? You're probably gonna use average. You're probably not gonna use any of the linear trend line stuff. It's probably not really applicable for you. So doesn't apply for the graph, but the average function does. So sorry, I wish I had more time with you guys.
That's okay.
All right. So the last step. Let's say we're done for now. Let's say we're not done with our graph, but we want to pick up later. All right. What's the last thing you do? Save it. And always make sure that the first and last time I save it, I always go through the save as, and I just make sure. So make sure it's a workbook. I make sure it's named what I want it. I save it. It's going to say I want to replace it. Yes, I do. And now everything's current and up to date.
So now like they're going to get multiple data sets, right?
Yep.
So my thought would be that they'd want to compare all of those in one graph. So if they're comparing, how many different locations are you doing? 6 different locations, and I'm going to guess 3 are near a street and 3 are away from the street. Mm-hmm. So what would be the way to get all of that data, like, so that they can look at it and do their comparison?
Well, what's your data going to contain? Is it going to contain the raw data, or is it going to be average values? Are you going to look at the average value of the street over there versus the average value of the stream over there versus the average value of the bus stop over there? Yeah. So the way I would do that graphically is once you get your average function, right? So I'll walk you through it real quick. Try and keep up, hopefully. All right, so
you're taking the average
of
each column.
Are we starting at cell B2? Are we starting at cell
B10, those first couple data points were junk.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't want to specify directly, so I figured 10 was a good starting point.
All right.
All right, so let's say we have 2 sites and we want to look at the 2 average values, right? So we just did the average on this function. I'll show you another cool thing Excel does, right? If you go to this little black box down here, it comes into the cursor turns into a plus sign. If you, a skinny plus sign. If you click and drag that over to the next box, what it's doing is it's copying the function from the original box into the new one. And then it says, oh, because I moved over a column, we're going to move the data column over as well. So you can see that it automatically selected the data between C10 and C239, which was the data selection we used for the previous cell, right? So we have our 2 average values, okay? Would we use a scatter plot for this graph? No. So that's the difference, is we're not using a scatter plot this time because we don't have a time dependency on this one. But we're still going to go to insert, and then let's say we want to do a column graph on this, right? We'll just do a regular 2D column. Now this is a pretty plain graph. However, if you go through those same options that I showed you earlier, I mean, like the marker options are going to be a little different because we don't have markers anymore. Now we have bar graphs. But by selecting that data, right-clicking on it, and going to Format Data Series, you can change all of this stuff. All right, this is where you change all that good stuff right there. Gradient fill, see. So it's different options for different graphs, but you get there the same way. Select your data set, right-click, Format Data Series, and then all the different options for changing that data around come up.
Now, if they've got different, so this is fine and coarse for one location,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's going to be 5 other locations. Would they put fine and coarse for location 1, fine and coarse for location 2, fine and coarse for location 3?
That's up to you guys. How you want to display your data is up to how you want to tell your story. This is honestly where the mentors are going to be a super good help because they're going to say, okay, some things may seem...
But they want to get all of them in one spreadsheet, right? In one Excel spreadsheet?
That's also... All right, so Heather brings up, Mrs. G brings up a good point, right? if you want to put things onto one spreadsheet, if you look down here, there's tabs, okay? And there's this little insert worksheet icon. So you can actually make multiple sheets for one workbook. That's why they call them workbooks. The other cool thing is you can reference things inside other pages of a workbook. So if you wanted to average something from this page over there, let's say you wanted to change it to a different data selection, right? We're gonna go through, we're gonna change this. When we select sheet 1, notice that it calls out sheet 1 with an exclamation point in the parentheses, all right? That syntax, that capital S, or that sheet 1 has to be the case correct title of the tab that you want to reference, right? And then if we want to select our data, we do it just like normally, right? So now we're averaging all those data. There's no data set there. When you hit enter, it goes back to where you're displaying your data, right? If you look here, what does this mean? Can everyone see this? Hashtag div divided by 0. All right, so right there, that's saying, how do you guys average stuff? What's the equation for averaging numbers? Yeah. We have a blank workbook, so we're dividing by 0. So if you have a divide by 0 error, that's what you see. Now, the general error format for this, it's really hard to see on this. You guys are going to have to experience this whenever it comes to you. Is it comes with a little green triangle on the top left of the cell. And if you hover over the cell, you get a little exclamation warning sign with the drop-down menu. And if you drop that down, it'll give you options. It'll tell you the first option is what the error is. So this one says divide by 0. The next one is help on this error. And Excel's help isn't great, but if you click on it, it'll pull up a help section specifically devoted to divide by 0 errors. And all it's going to say is check your data because you're dividing by 0. So, anyhow, great. Thank you.